So after discussing federalism in the 1956 Constitution and the 1962 Constitution, we come to the current Constitution, which is the 1973 Constitution. This Constitution, the dynamics of this Constitution we'll discuss as it was originally made in 1973. So it is different from what 1973 Constitution is now after around 27-28 constitutional amendments. So this Constitution was made in a difficult circumstances. There was separation of East Pakistan in 1971, and primarily because of the provincial autonomy concerns. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who emerged as a leader after the separation, he was from a smaller province, that is Sindh. So there was this idea that federalism should be more entrenched, more so than in the last two constitutions, that is 1956 and 1962 constitutions. So parliamentary system returned in this constitution. Pakistan was again declared a federation. The part 3 of the constitution discussed about the center and talk about the president, the federal government and the parliament. And in this case, there were 4 provinces with other states. So the one unit was dissolved in 1969 by General Yahya Khan. The next part discusses provinces, governors, provincial governments and provincial assemblies. One of the new features of this constitution was that the executive authority rested with the prime minister and the 4 chief ministers. In the previous 2 constitutions, it was the key decision maker or the sole decision maker was not the prime minister or the chief minister. So governors and presidents did have their own power, but not in the case of 1973 constitution, as it was originally approved in 1973. A new feature was again the Senate. Previously, as we discussed, there was in 1956 and 1962 there was no second chamber. Senate was introduced and federating units. So federalism was strengthened as smaller provinces got the power to stop or delay legislation which they don't like. There were 3 legislative lists: the federal, the concurrent and the provincial. As in other 2 cases, the federal legislation, if there are 2 laws, one by the federation and one by the province, it was the federal law which prevailed. Parliament can make laws for the provinces in case of emergency. And again, as in the case of previously, federal civil services actually control not only the federation but also the provinces and the local governments. In the NFC, which is the National Finance Commission, which divides the resources, financial resources between the federation and the provinces, more representation was given to the provinces. So in many ways, federalism was strengthened in this constitution as compared to the previous 2 constitutions. But still there was, more revenue potential and taxes were with the federation. And of course, then there was also the de facto situation where federalism was weak.